Cutting 90% of people out of my life wasn't easy, but it was completely necessary. And the reason I started doing it was really because I started to notice that the people around me were ultimately what I became. So who I surrounded myself with was who I was. And when I was young, you know, you really become friends with people because they're around you. It's really ease, you know. Maybe they're your neighbors, maybe they're people that you just are in the same class with, and so y'all become close and then hang out outside of school. So friendship's super easy. You have a ton of friends when you're young and they just flow naturally. You don't have to work super hard to make friends. And then you get a little bit older, get to high school, okay, you get a little bit more in your circle, you know, less of being friends with everybody, more being friends with the people that you spend time with. You know, if you're in football, you probably have friends in football. You know, if you're in, you know, choir, you're probably friends with people in choir, stuff like that. And so it changes a little bit and you start to kind of narrow in on who you are rather than being such a friends with absolutely everyone. And so naturally you lose a lot of people in your life, you know, as you find new things to do, yeah, you level up and things change. And as you get older, it gets even more narrowed in on who you actually are. You know, when you're young, you're kind of all going through the same things. As you get older, it's totally different. You know, somebody that's in medical school, I can't really relate to. I never went to medical school. I don't even believe in going to school that long. And so it's not something that somebody that I would probably hang out with because they're so focused on school. So that's just an example. And honestly, you start to get pretty intentional about the people that you surround yourself with. I know for me, I refuse to hang out with any negative people. I don't like to hang out with stagnant people, people that aren't trying to level up. If you're the same person that you were 3 years ago, 4, 5 years ago, I'm not going to be friends with you because I want people that are trying to level themselves up in every single way. Now, they don't need to be on the same path that I'm on. I don't expect them to by any means. That's completely out of the point. But they need to be leveling themselves up and trying to become better in whatever way that they can. They need to be developing themselves. They need to be at the gym. They need to be fighting. They need to be doing things that I respect and I admire, because I'm not going to spend my time around people that I don't admire, because ultimately that's what I'm going to become. And if I want to become somebody that I admire, I got to be around people that I admire. And, you know, who you surround yourself with are your motivators too. If somebody's ahead of you in life, they're going to motivate you to get better. If you have big goals, you got to surround yourself with people that also have big goals. You can't be hanging around with the sheep if you're a lion. You know, that doesn't make sense. That's why I did it. There were some people in college that I really had to intentionally cut out just because they were negative and they were stagnant. They weren't trying to get better. They were talking bad on my goals. So that's the easy cut out for me. All right, you're talking bad on my goals? See ya. Out. It's easy. Now there are hard friendships that you have to cut out too, and those take longer. And yeah, but anyways, you know, the types of people I cut, you know, chronic complainers. I refuse to be around people that complain all the time and are, you know, woe is me, world is out to get me, victim mindset. You know, they don't realize that they are the heroes in their own story. They refuse to accept responsibility for their actions and responsibility for how their life turned out. I will not hang around people like that. I have a family member that's like that has the biggest victim mindset of all. And I don't spend time with them that much. It's sad, but I've had to cut them out to an extent. Now, obviously, they're still family. I'm not just completely not talking to them, but my communication with them is very limited. And it's just, I'm sorry. You know, I have to be selfish in that way because I can't let negativity or that mindset creep into my own mindset. And honestly, it's just frustrating to be around somebody with a victim mentality. And I also refuse to hang around people that are jealous or hold some sort of resent towards me and are lashing out behind my back. If people are talking bad about you when you're not in the room, why hang out with them? You don't need the negativity. Cut them out. So what happened after I cut out these people? I had a lot more emotional peace. I realized that I am on my path, and I didn't even really, this sounds very unemotional, but I almost didn't even feel any sort of regret. I didn't feel any sort of sadness about it because I just didn't want to be like them. I don't even know how to say it. I know it sounds terrible, but I'm just being honest. I didn't feel bad at all about it. I'm like, this is what's best for me. Sorry, you got to go. And I've done it multiple times, and it's become easier as I go. And I know that's terrible, but life is ruthless. So yeah, you know, I started having faster progress towards my goals. Mindset was better, deepened bonds with the few that were still in my life. And instead of investing time everywhere, I was investing in a few people that, you know, bring me peace, fill my cup, those kind of things. And that's been way more rewarding than trying to get everybody on the same path I do. That's ridiculous. You know, I can't force somebody with the victim mindset to all of a sudden develop a winner's mindset. They got to do that themselves. It's not my job to save everybody. So, and you know, there's a crab in the bucket mentality. You know, people that see you trying to get out of the bucket. You can have a bucket with crabs in it, and you don't even need to put a towel on it, because as the crab crawls out of the bucket, all the other crabs will be like trying to get it out of the bucket. As soon as it's about to get free, they'll pull it back in because they don't want that crab to get out. So like if I'm in the crab, if I'm in the bucket, you gotta be in the bucket with me. And people will do that too. They see you succeeding, they'll try to pull you back down. So you gotta recognize those people and cut them out immediately. So how did I do it without drama? Honestly, I didn't have any sort of, it's not like I went up to friends and like, hey, I can't hang out with you anymore. It was nothing like that. It wasn't a breakup or anything like that. I just went further on my path, cut out the noise. And if they were, you know, maybe they were friends with me because we all went out and drank a ton. And I told them, hey, I don't drink anymore. If y'all hit me up to go out and drinking, I'm not going to go. And that naturally just falls off, because I only hung out with them because that was the only thing we had in common. We went out and drank at the clubs. No reason to hang out anymore. Sorry. Honestly, if you just stop showing up to things, if you just like, hey, no, I can't go to that. No, not interested. And people pick up on that. They see the energy. You don't want to hang out with them. And you don't have to make it all emotional or anything like that. It's just, hey, I'm prioritizing my growth. I'm not going to feel guilty about not spending time with you, because at the end of the day, my time is my time. We get a finite amount of time. I'm not going to spend it with people that aren't helping me get to where I want to go. And it's tough. That's part of life. You got to cut people out of your life that aren't going to add to it. It's your life. You can't expect other people to save you. You got to save yourself. And sometimes you got to cut people out of your life. And that's why I had to cut out a lot of people. And my circle is very small now. I like it that way. I'm very hesitant to add new people into my life. I'm quick to cut people out of my life, and I'm slow to add people into my life. That's how I roll. I don't know what y'all think. You know, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not somebody that's trying to be that social butterfly. I'm not out there trying to make friendships with everybody. I'm pretty reserved in that aspect. I try to control my energy and protect my energy and who I spend it with, and that's how I do it. Is, you know, I'm reserved. I don't, you know, I'm in sales, so I do talk to people a lot, and I have a lot of acquaintances, but you know, usually they're not going to get into my inner circle unless they're a really great person they're going to add to my life. That's just being honest. And I just think your circle matters so much, and your environment is so important. That's why a lot of these videos are about cultivating your environment, cultivating your mindset, cultivating your circle. And it's all things that will, you know, get you further in life and get you further to your goals. And it's tough, and in the moment you might not see the reward of it, but over time you're gonna realize it was the right thing to do. But yeah, if you're serious about leveling up, you know, your mornings, your mindset, your circle, please hit subscribe. I'll have more videos coming soon. But anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.